Hey, so I'm Riki and today I'm going to make some pap and sous. So it's an Afrikaans dish and honestly, it's amazing. It's really fluffy, tomatoey, turmeric-y, but spicy, but not too hot. You can, but honestly, it's just good. Tastes like home, so let's go make it. Okay, so now we're going to make the sauce, or the sauce in Afrikaans. So here are the ingredients. They're really easy. So I've got some onion here, about 1 to 2, 2 cloves of garlic, a knob of ginger. I've got some spices. So I usually just use a curry mix powder. So I've got 1.5 teaspoons of that, a bit of smoked paprika, and then a little bit of ginger as well. And then I've got some capsicums as well. Usually I actually use frozen, but I had some fresh ones today. And then I had some also home grown tomatoes. Also another good alternative is just canned tomatoes. It's significantly cheaper and honestly it works just as good. So I'll show you how to put it all together around the stovetop. Okay, so at the stove top we've got just a regular size saucepan. We're going to turn. I usually start it around on high, so around 8. Then we're going to put some olive oil in. We can make this lid open. There you go. And just a glug. While waiting for that to warm up, we'll get the onions ready. And I love using wooden spoons, but you can honestly use whatever you want. That kind of feels hot enough. Just a light sizzle, that's fine. It could also be a really hot sizzle. I'm just not very patient. Okay, so when your onions are kind of looking caramelized, they've got some good color on them, then you can add some garlic. I kind of dip them in chunks, and then some ginger as well. And I've just put that heat around into a 6. I always add just a bit of water just to get some of the fondant off. Also adding some salt just to help with that breaking down, some pepper. And then I'm also just going to add some of my spices, especially with that bit of water, just so the spices don't burn. Give it a good mix and kind of just let that kind of simmer down and fry a little bit more before adding the capsicums. So it's only fried a little bit more, but you can already see it's kind of looking soft and it's smelling very fragrant, which is good. I'm just going to go add my capsicums as well. So I've kind of put it a little bit low when I had the onion, the garlic in. I'm going to just increase the heat a little bit more. And let those capsicums kind of just fry first before adding the tomatoes. Cool, so that is boiling a little bit more. I add a little bit of water just to help for the capsicums just kind of to break a bit down. So it's kind of ready, you can see it's chunky, but now it just needs some tomatoes. So you can see here I've got so many tomatoes from our garden. Chuck them all in. As you can see, I don't really chop them too finely. I kind of do want it to be a bit more of a loose and a chunky sauce. A trick from my mum is just adding a teaspoon of sugar with tomatoes. It kind of just helps cutting down the acidity. I always like mine a little bit sweeter, so I only should do 1.5 because I'm a bit of a sweet tooth. But honestly, 1 teaspoon of sugar with your tomatoes does wonders. I also like to add here just like a little bit more salt, just because tomatoes usually do need a bit of salt. I love pepper, so I just think pepper just brings great, good floral notes as well. Now I'm just kind of going to let this like simmer in the background, just really slowly. I'm going to put the lid over, and it should be probably done in a few minutes. Okay, so now we're going to make Mielie Pap. So Mielie Pap, it's a type of grain. So in South Africa we have green corn, and with green corn you can get kernel, or they can grind it really fine. So that's what this is, Mielie Pap. I will show an image. So you can usually find it New World, just in your international intersection, and as you see here, it's a really fine grain. I guess kind of like, you can say like really fine coconut shavings, if that kind of makes sense, but it kind of becomes really fluffy like couscous, like the small grain. This is gluten free, so I've got here about I usually do 2/3 per person, so that's a really easy ratio. Obviously if it's a smaller child, maybe a little bit less, and then just a little bit of salt to help. I can just shake it in, and then I put it in the microwave for 2 minutes. And so when that's going, I recommend boiling your kettle, because you really want the as hot as possible to be able to make a really fluffy Mielie Pap. And our sauce is going really well, so it'll be all done really soon. Okay, now the Mielie Pap has come out of the microwave. It kind of looks the very same consistency. You need to cook it for 2 minutes in a microwave to be able to cook the Mielie Pap, so you can see it's kind of steaming. Here's my hot water. I usually just plop a little bit in the beginning, and then I'm kind of stirring, and you can see while I'm stirring it's kind of clumping, it's steaming. Hopefully it doesn't fog up the camera, and you kind of one direction kind of just make it fluffy. I think it's very close. I think it just needs a little bit more water. I usually go around the sides. Often that's where and see here, having a glass handle is super helpful. So usually you need a bit of speed, but not too much so it flies everywhere. And I really want to be hydrating each little grain, and you can see it's becoming really fluffy. It is still a little bit dry, so I'm going to add a little bit more. And honestly, with Mielie Pap, it's such a versatile ingredient, so you can add like heaps of more water and then kind of make it more into like a porridge consistency. I don't really prefer a light porridge, so this is usually, and here you can see I'm just loosening it up, fluff, fluff, and then loosening. Okay. So I'm going to add it 2 more minutes again in the microwave and pretty much fluff it up again if it needs a little bit more water. And this is currently how it's looking. Okay, here it's had its second microwave. You can see it's already far more fluffier. I think it's pretty much nearly done. So you can see here, having the steam is really important because that creates your fluffiness, and being able to have a glass bowl, you can see if you have reached every little grain as well. Honestly, I'm just gonna fluff this a bit more. Oops, let that go off on the side. And honestly, having a carving fork is honestly the most easiest thing because it's sturdy enough and you're able to really get around. But you want to be able to have something that forks and loosens up the Mielie Pap, and you can see here it's kind of looking fluffy, and that's really the consistency we're looking for. So this is done. I think it's time to assemble. Okay, so now we can just assemble our pap and sous. So first you're just going to grab some pap and you pour just a bit, kind of like rice, and then some of that beautiful sauce. Oh, honestly, it looks so good. And then a bit of cheese as well. And that is my pap and sous. So that was all for today, and I really hope you guys enjoyed how to make Mielie Pap and Sous. It's such an amazing dish, and I really hope you try it at home and you learned heaps, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!